Rutgers football falls to Wisconsin in embarrassing fashion on Saturday at SHI Stadium, 42-7. And as deflating of a loss as I can remember, obviously last week, extremely frustrating loss. I lamented the fact that it was a huge missed opportunity as poorly as they played offensively. The game was there for the taking, and this game was certainly not the same type of case. Rutgers was outplayed, outcoached, out everything from the second the game started to the second the game ended. And the idea that this team could put together a special season, that idea is now officially dead. While a bowl game is still likely at 4-2 with 6 games to play, still a modest schedule from a Big Ten perspective. This loss, combined with last week's loss, makes it painfully obvious and clear that this program had an opportunity to take another step forward, a significant step forward as a program, and they failed. You face 2 programs that you've never beaten, that have storied history in Nebraska and Wisconsin, and they were vulnerable. You had Nebraska still in your sights despite being so many chances, and then in this game just got absolutely destroyed. Now, injuries are taking a major toll on this team. You had Tyrone Powell and Robert Longerbeam, the 2 defensive captains, out of this game. The 3rd defensive captain, Mo Turay, out for the season back in August. And I'm going to talk about linebacker depth in a minute. But this missing both of them was obviously huge. Aaron Lewis went down early. Looks what appears to be a very significant injury to Sam Brown late in the game, which would be devastating for him and this team. And while injuries are absolutely a factor in why they didn't play well and why they lost these last 2 games, Ian Strong has been hobbled. He played. Eric Rogers was questionable. But at the end of the day, this program is a developmental program, and you're in the 5th year of Greg Schiano. And although you have so many returning starters, you have to have depth behind them too. And it is harder to develop depth when you have so many starters around. David Anderson and I have talked about this a lot. But no one stepped up for this team today. No one. You could argue that Christian Drimmel was the only one. 2 targets, 2 catches, 54 yards, had a 36-yarder. You know, I tweeted at the start of the second half, it's time to get him in the game. 4 drops in the pass game. Kenny Fletcher had 2. He got benched. Higgins came in. Chris Long had a drop. Ben Black had a drop. A lot of mistakes, a lack of execution. We'll look at the stats here. Let's look at the stats in terms of total yards. Wisconsin, 549 total yards. Rutgers, 271. First downs, Wisconsin, 24-14. They were 7-14 on 3rd down conversions. Rutgers just 5-17, but they were 2 of 12. And it wasn't, they converted late in the game when the issue was no longer in doubt. 4th down, Wisconsin was 1 of 1. Rutgers 0 of 2. In terms of the red zone, Wisconsin got into the Rutgers red zone 6 times, scored 5 touchdowns. Rutgers 1 of 3, 0-2 in the first half, which killed them. Time of possession, Wisconsin had the ball 35 minutes. Just total domination. Wisconsin had 2 turnovers. Rutgers had 1. Rutgers could not do anything. They did score off of that one turnover. But I don't know, I could be mistaken. But it was just as bad as they played in that first half, they still had chances at the end of the second half to make it a game. And then they had a chance at the start of the 3rd quarter. They got to stop. They had the ball. And what do? They go 3 and out again. Or they had a Monungai first down, and then they have to punt. They can't convert on 3rd down. And they give the ball back to Wisconsin. The defense at that point, they broke, gave up a big touchdown or a big run with Wisconsin near their goal line, and then they gave up a big pass play, and the game just unraveled from there, down 21-0. And it was a tough watch. It was a tough watch. It's extremely frustrating. The execution on every end, special teams, they had a botched snap, led to a blocked field goal. Not really close to any blocks in this game. No return game. You had defensively some poor tackling. You had a couple of, the penalties. They only had 4 again, but how many delay of games? I think they had 3 delay of games in this loss from the offense coming out of starting a new possession, coming off of giving up a score. I mean, that was the biggest thing. Again, I will be fair. I predicted before the season for Rutgers to be 3-3 at this point. I predicted a loss to Virginia Tech. I predicted a loss to Nebraska. I predicted a loss to Wisconsin. So I'm not trying to scream that the world is ending and the season is over. That's not what I'm saying. But this team put themselves in a position where they had opportunities to really elevate the program, and they failed. They went to take that next step in the ladder, and they tripped or they missed the step, and they fell all the way down. That's the way it feels. And that's why it's so frustrating. And in terms of the way this team looked, they did not look ready to play. They just looked discombobulated the entire game. Substitutions were late. I mean, they had there was a play in the first half where Wisconsin snapped it. Rutgers only had 10 men on the field. Someone was running on the field mid-play. I can't remember who, but I mean, what are we doing here? Like I said, 3 delay of games coming off of a dead ball. It makes no sense. They just looked completely out of sorts. And that is 100% on the coaching staff. Phil Longo, the offensive coordinator for Wisconsin, schooled Rutgers on the defensive end all day. Wisconsin fans have been frustrated with him. Not today. And offensively, Callie McManus really struggled once again. And it just appears now that he fundamentally, he's starting to fall apart. His footwork, there was a throw to Sam Brown on 3rd down. I think it was early second half where he was open. He was going to have to make a play out of it to get the first down, but Callie McManus made the proper read. He checked down and he went to his third option. He was open, but his feet and his body were turned the wrong way, and he just completely rushed the throw. And it was a bad throw down low. Sam Brown maybe could have caught it, but still, he wasn't put in a position where he could run for the first down there. And it was just an example of his breakdown. Fundamentally, poise-wise, his numbers for the day, he was 12 of 32, which is just 38%, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. He did have 4 drops on him. It would have brought him to 50%, probably about 150 yards. Still not enough. And there's a lot of things going wrong with the offense. When the offensive line's a mess, obviously Brian Felter out for the year has been a big impact here in terms of just he was under pressure pretty much the whole game. He had his receivers drop it. They couldn't get a consistent running game. So again, this isn't all on Callie McManus. The biggest concern here is that his fundamentals are starting to break down. He looks like he's just not able to deliver the ball in an effective way, the way he was those first 4 weeks. In terms of, the offensive line did not allow any sacks, but, there was plenty of pressure. And the run game, Rutgers just couldn't run. And Monungai had some decent runs down the stretch. He had a nice TD run, down 28-0. But Rutgers just could not get anything going. And that first half, they threw the ball 20 times and ran it just 15. So very frustrating in many ways. But that first quarter, they were down 14-0. Taj White got hurt at 1.2. Salami came in. He really struggled. It was the start of the game offensively. 5 drives, 1 first down. You can't start a game like that. And it really put the defense in a bad spot, and they're trying to hold it together with multiple injuries, and they just fell apart. And Wisconsin came in with a lot of confidence after beating Purdue 52-6, but they have a backup quarterback. Their top running back is gone, Ches Malusi, and the biggest frustration in terms of big picture is if Rutgers isn't going to beat Wisconsin now, when are they ever going to beat them? They've been so close in terms of it seeming going into the game they had a good chance, and then they just get blown away. Last season, the year before, Nebraska, you've had multiple chances to beat Nebraska. You haven't beaten Nebraska. So this year was about taking a step forward, checking some boxes off, and they failed to do so the last 2 weeks. And it has officially lowered the season. And this team, 4-2, 1-2 in the Big Ten. And, they could still win. I think they could still get to 8 wins, maybe 9. But you also have to wonder, they have at a minimum, they have to get to 6 wins, right? And UCLA next week is a huge opportunity to do that. They're not a good team. But this team right now is in trouble. They're in trouble injury-wise. They're in trouble confidence-wise. They're in trouble the way they're playing football on every phase. There's no confidence. There's no execution. They look a shell of themselves from even just 2 weeks ago. And that's on the coaching staff to figure it out. They were physically overmatched in this game. There's no toughness on the field. There was no fight. And that was what was different from this game to last game. They still fought as a team against Nebraska to the bitter end. And today they looked completely beaten in every phase, in every aspect, mentally, physically, their souls. They just got stomped and they weren't able to punch back. And that was the disturbing part of the loss. In terms of, Wisconsin had that missed field goal. They couldn't take advantage. They had three drops on that possession near the end of the half. They got beat up bad in the trenches on both sides. They looked a step slow. Aside from being out of sorts, it looked like Wisconsin knew exactly what they were doing offensively, and they knew exactly what Rutgers was trying to do defensively on the defensive end. That 4th and 1, Rutgers didn't fool them at all. Got no traction there, and Wisconsin just had Rutgers figured out every step of the way, But it was a terrible start. And you see also, let's go talk about linebacker depth. And this Jabome had a huge hit on Pauling that knocked him out of the game, forced a fumble. Mascal recovered. Moses Walker had some plays, and I'm not trying to rub it into fans here, but I said, and I got flack for this in August, when Mo Toure was out for the year, I said, this is a major problem. And there's a lot of people out there that said, no, they have linebacker depth. Don't worry. Well, guess what? This is not the same defense. When you have Toure and Powell out, this defense is not nearly at the same level. And Powell had looked really good in his return, working his way back. Again, this is a rapid reaction. I haven't seen Schiano's press conference. I don't know if he'll talk about it, but he was a huge loss in this game. Longerbean was a big loss. And then you lose Aaron Lewis. Then Flip Dixon gets hurt. Toure is out. You're talking about your 5 best defensive players off the field. This is not the same defense. This is not close to the same defense. You don't have depth. People say you have depth to back it up. Where? And that's no disrespect to the players behind them. But they don't have nearly the amount of experience that those guys have. And maybe they have the talent, and maybe that experience in time will get them to that same level. But they are not at that level right now. And if the Rutgers defense is that depleted, there's serious concerns moving forward the rest of this season. Completely fair concerns about the defense. Again, offense did them no favors today. Offensive personnel did Cali McManus no favors today. Kirk Shiraka did the offense no favors today. Harris Simiak wasn't really able to figure Phil Longo out at all. And ultimately, the head coach, Greg Schiano, this team was not ready to play in any way. And they got embarrassed. on their home field with an opportunity to go 5-1 and 2-1 in Big Ten play. They've never had a winning record in Big Ten play. And now that possibility is looking less likely for sure. Now you have a get-right game on Saturday, homecoming, UCLA, not a good team, cross-country trip. Teams cross-country trips have had poor records this year in the Big Ten. You have to get that win to be one win away from bowl eligibility before you go to USC. And then you have a winnable November. I think it's looking harder than it was. You have Minnesota at home. I would say that's a must-win. If you could beat UCLA and Minnesota at home, you're going to be 6-3 with 3 games to go. And that's where you raise your ceiling on the season compared to last year. But at Maryland, looking very vulnerable right now after a big home loss to Northwestern on Friday night. Then you have a very good Illinois team coming in, and then you have a tough road game at Michigan State. So, to be honest, 7-5, I would take it right now the way they look today, but that would still be disappointing in terms of the outlook of the season. But what you can't happen is the wheels completely fall off. You got to pull yourselves together. You got to win next week. You lose next week, and then the season is ultimately in danger of just completely falling apart. Other observations, a lot of the inexperienced guys, they got burned in plays. They're learning, but it took its toll in this game. Again, the delay of games were maddening. At least 6 3-and-outs in this game by the offense. Poor tackling, substitution issues. Kyle McManus, again, he's not getting a lot of time. His receivers, in addition to the drops, they're not getting separation. And I think that's part of it. And I think it's messing up his decision-making. But this receiving core has not taken a step forward like we hoped they would. So that is really disappointing. And I don't know what else there is to say. I'm not even, last week I was more angry, emotional, dejected, so frustrated because even more so looking back on that game now, because you never know what's going to happen week to week. And you never know who's going to get injured. And you never know how things are going to change. And that game, for all its warts, was there for Rutgers to take, and they couldn't take it. And then you come home and you lay a complete egg. Just the worst performance in, I don't know, is it the worst performance in Shiano era? I'm not clear-headed enough to assess that at this moment, but I could tell you that it's just such a deflating loss. And now things are trending in the wrong way. Your ceiling's falling down, and you got to get back up. And if the culture of this program is as strong as we think it is, as they say it is, they're good enough to pull it back together and beat UCLA next week at home. You have to do that. And then 5-2, and you go to USC, a team that doesn't like to be physical. You never know. The season is far from over. But if we're looking at this from this is going to be a special season perspective, I think that's dead now. Unfortunately, sadly, it died a miserable death here on Saturday, October 12th at SHI Stadium as Wisconsin just grounded Rutgers to a pulp, 42-7. Wisconsin is a program that has just beaten Rutgers in, physically in every way. And I really thought this year they could do it, and they didn't. And it wasn't even close. And that's what was so disheartening. This is a very disheartening loss. Rutgers fans have every right to be upset. I'm going to end it by just repeating how I think I started it, but I'm rambling. These last 2 games were an opportunity for this program to take a significant step forward. This season was an opportunity for this program to take a significant step forward. And right now, looking at what happened the last 2 weeks, they failed to do that. And looking at what's ahead, it seems unlikely they're going to do that this season. Doesn't mean they're not going to make a bowl game. I still think they will. I still think they'll get more than 6 wins. I think they'll get 7, maybe 8. Sure didn't look like it today. And I understand why, if you look at this game and say there's no way they're winning another game. That's a bit dramatic, but certainly concerning. And obviously this team has to get healthy. But you got to build depth, and the depth in those younger players, have to step up, because next year you're losing everybody. You're losing all your starters for the most part. You're losing all your top depth. And this season, perhaps it's an opportunity now, right, for younger guys to get that much needed experience for next season. But you don't want to sacrifice the potential of this season at the same time. It's a balancing act. But if you have guys out, then it's kind of, your hand is forced. And those guys have to step up sooner than to be expected. So a lot more to talk through this week. I'll have David Anderson back. We're going to do a midseason review. We're going to obviously preview UCLA. Might have somebody else on this week as well. I'll try to do a big picture thoughts. We'll see. But this is just a very, very disheartening loss. And just sucked the life out of the fan base, unfortunately. If you watched this entire video, thank you. I salute you. I appreciate you. And this is the journey, right? And these types of days make the triumphs that much sweeter. Again, I'm not giving up on this team. You shouldn't give up on this team either. But this was as lackluster of a performance as we've seen with Greg Schiano as coach ever. And that's part of why it's so disheartening. This team's got to get healthy, but this team's got to be coached better. They have to play better. Players have to play better. They have to execute better. They have to scheme better. Everything. Back to the drawing board. Rutgers 4-2, 1-2 in the Big Ten. Thanks so much for listening once again here at the Scarlet Faithful podcast.